standing. Everybody ready? Good morning, everyone, and thank you all for being here this morning. I'm going to make a series of statements, touch on a variety of issues about 2014 and certainly many of the achievements of 2014 and over the past few years in a number of areas, and then certainly touch on some of the goals and objectives for 2015. I'm joined by an incredible array of public servants here at the front and throughout the room, and I want to thank all of them for being here. What I'm going to do is first at least touch on a couple of the areas that I know I'm going to talk about, and then when we're done, certainly be glad to answer any questions you might have about the things that I've specifically raised, or you may have other issues that members of the press want to raise. So first and foremost, I'll talk about some issues in the public safety realm, both crime with regard to the police department and our community advocates and our police officers, as well as public safety on the fire side. Second, touch on the issue of population growth here in the city, local funding to the Philadelphia School District as third, employment numbers here in the city, fourth, wage tax rates, five, and the city's bond rating over the past few years. First and foremost, let me talk about, again, the issue of public safety here in the city. I think as most of you know by now, in 2014, we closed the year with, unfortunately, 247 homicides here in the city of Philadelphia. For context, though, that is, in fact, a 36% decrease from the year before I came into office as mayor of the city in 2007, when there were 391 homicides in the city of Philadelphia. All violent crime decreased last year as well, a 25% drop as compared to 2007. The big news this year is a drop in shooting victims as well, a 34% decrease since 2007 to a low of 1,047. That is also the lowest number since we started calculating or separating out homicides from shootings. As Police Commissioner Ramsey has said in the past, and I'm sure will continue to say, the difference between a shooting and a homicide, unfortunately, is sometimes just aim or, more importantly, excellent medical attention, the rapid response by our police officers and EMS services and citizens letting us know that something terrible has happened, and the excellent care that any number of individuals have received at many of the fine hospitals here in the city of Philadelphia. There are, in fact, people alive today who would not be alive 10 years ago, but for excellent medical service or the great leadership of Police Commissioner Ramsey, the men and women of the Philadelphia Police Department who risk their lives each and every day to make us safe, community leaders who are actively engaged on the front lines of fighting crime in our neighborhoods, many of whom are here today, as well as, again, the rapid response by fire service and EMS officers. We're focused on reducing shootings because that is truly how, of course, you reduce the number of murders in our city. These preliminary year-end totals for all Part 1 crimes are the lowest since 1971. The violent crime totals are the lowest since 1984. It was 30 years ago. The homicide numbers are the lowest since 1967, and we have not had in 30-plus years, 40-plus years rather, 2 years in a row of less than 250 murders in the city of Philadelphia since 1966. Philadelphia Police Department and all members of our first responders deserve a huge round of applause. But I want to make sure that we're very, very clear. And again, Commissioner Ramsey would be the first to say, and his leadership team and the men and women of the Philadelphia Police Department, they are tremendously aided, assisted, and helped by ongoing support that we receive from leaders in our community across the many, many neighborhoods of the city of Philadelphia, our Town Watch organizations, our anti-crime organizations, our leadership groups that focus on the issue of safety, especially in many of our African American and Latino communities across the city of Philadelphia. And so I want to make sure that we also recognize our community crime fighters, and please give them a big, big round of applause as well. Thank you. With regard to the fire department, 2014, we ended, again, unfortunately, with 32 civilian fire fatalities. That's 8 more than in 2013, when we had 24. 24 is the lowest number in recorded history in the city of Philadelphia. And certainly we want to thank both Commissioner Sawyer and former Commissioner Lloyd Ayers, the Freedom for Fire campaign, and the ongoing effort to distribute free smoke alarms all across the city of Philadelphia. Smoke alarms work. Fire safety plans and escape plans work. And we need to make sure that we continue those great, great efforts. During 2014, the Philadelphia Fire Department responded to 293,595 emergency incidents. Of those incidents, 243,949 were emergency medical incidents, and 49,646 were fire and other 911 emergency public service requests. Overall, this is a 1% decrease in fire runs and a 14% increase in EMS runs compared, again, with 2007 totals. Philadelphia firefighters, again, men and women who risk their lives each and every day to also make sure that all of us are safe. They have done, over the past few years, a tremendous job in keeping our numbers low. We've been below 40 for the last 7 years in terms of civilian fire deaths. But again, Fire Commissioner Sawyer would be the first to say, and every firefighter in the city of Philadelphia would say, that one fire death or one homicide is one too many. But our firefighters deserve a huge debt of gratitude and thanks for the work that they do each and every day as they are out distributing smoke detectors, making sure that people are safe, making sure that they are working, and also encouraging folks to have fire escape safety plans in their homes. They will continue to do that great work, and for that, the firefighters of this city also deserve a huge round of applause, and we thank them as well. To our respective union leaders who are here from those two public safety agencies, John McNesby and Joe Shuley, I say thank you to both of you. Your leadership as union leaders makes a huge difference here in the city of Philadelphia and our ability to coordinate and communicate down through our Deputy Mayor for Public Safety, Everett Gillison, who is not with us this morning because he is at a funeral, our Director of Public Safety, Mike Resnick, working along with Police Commissioner Ramsey, Fire Commissioner Sawyer, John McNesby at the FOP, and Joe Shuley at Local 22. These leaders all deserve a big round of applause. We are able to talk with them, communicate with them, and more importantly, coordinate our efforts and services on behalf of the people all of us actually work for, who are the citizens of this great city. So please recognize our two union leaders who are here with us today as well. On the issue of education, the School District of Philadelphia continues to have serious and significant financial challenges, notwithstanding the great efforts that we have made as a city government, our administration, in coordination and cooperation with Philadelphia City Council to provide additional city funding it is a fact the Commonwealth's contribution to our city schools has gone from 1/2 of their budget to only 1/3. This has necessitated, unfortunately, that local municipalities pick up the slack all across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. The city increased support for public schools by $357 million annually over the last few years. That's $357 million more every year in the last few years than we have been contributing before. And of course, we've also had significant success as a part of those efforts, lobbying in Harrisburg for the extension of the sales tax, as well as the passage of a more recent cigarette tax, both of which are primarily focused on funding schools. I look forward to working with Governor-elect Wolf to find a better way to support all of Pennsylvania's schools, of course, including Philadelphia. That work really has to result in full and fair funding for education across the Commonwealth, 500 school districts, with a student-weighted funding formula that takes into account the number of students who are enrolled, the number of students who actually attend, distance to school, English as a second language, intellectual disability, and other challenges that students may face in an urban environment versus suburban or rural, as well as poverty and the local financial ability to support schools. All of those factors need to be considered when we're talking about educating our most precious resource in the Commonwealth and in the United States of America, our children. The Philadelphia School District's high school graduation rate is up 12 points, from 53% to 65% during the 2013-2014 school year. That's as compared, again, to 2007. This is truly amazing. It demonstrates the resiliency of our students, notwithstanding the tremendous economic crisis facing our schools, and more importantly, the devastation to the programs and services, equipment, supplies, the impact on teachers, the number of teachers, quality of facilities that our students have been subjected to over the last few years. And again, it is certainly my hope in working with the Governor-elect that we'll be able to turn this situation around. When I talked about the fire service earlier, certainly we need to again mention and reflect upon the loss of Lieutenant Joyce Craig, who lost her life in fighting a fire just a few weeks ago. Lieutenant Craig had just recently turned 37 before she passed away fighting a residential fire on December 9th. She leaves behind a loving family, a 16-year-old son, Makai, and a 16-month-old daughter, Lalani. The City of Philadelphia's 30-day non-denominational public memorial service will be held next Monday, January 12th, at 10 o'clock a.m. in City Hall in this room, room 202. I ask that you please keep Lieutenant Joyce Craig in our thoughts and in our memories, as well as pray for her family. We know that on Saturday, January 3rd, 2015, at approximately 12:15 p.m., the body of the young male was pulled from the Schuylkill River directly behind the Manayunk Brewery located at 4120 Main Street. The body was located by members of the Garden State Underwater Recovery Unit and later transported to the Philadelphia Medical Examiner's Office. The body has been positively identified as that of Shane Montgomery. The most recent update from the Medical Examiner's Office is that the death has been ruled accidental, but other results from the autopsy have not yet come back. I do know some of the members of Shane Montgomery's family, and I ask, again, all of us as Philadelphians that we keep Shane and his family in our thoughts and prayers. And I also want to thank the Philadelphia Police Department and fire departments, again, for their work in this effort. Earlier today, it was announced, and I know it's been in at least a couple of publications, that Forbes magazine and the Forbes 30 Under 30 and the City of Philadelphia announced this morning that the Under 30 Summit will take place once again in Philadelphia this year from October 4th to the 7th, 2015. The summit, arguably the most influential gathering of millennials in the world, will bring together more than 2,000 young entrepreneurs and leaders to our city, and we're proud, of course, that Forbes has found a home in the city of Philadelphia. I think, as everyone knows, later this year, we're, of course, not only the host city for the World Meeting of Families in September, but also it was announced just a few weeks ago that Pope Francis, His Holiness, will also be coming to Philadelphia. We are certainly excited as we prepare for that visit. Lastly, and then I'll be glad to take any questions that you might have. I might have a couple other things. Shout out and best wishes to Harvey Pollack, the 76ers statistician. He holds the distinction, apparently, of being the only remaining member of the original founding of the National Basketball Association, the NBA. He was also the scorekeeper when Wilt Chamberlain scored 100 points in a game on March 2nd, 1962. He is 92 years old and suffering from some pretty significant injuries from a car accident. We also lost in the world of sports, Stuart Scott, and certainly keep him in our thoughts and prayers. He, of course, had a tremendous impact, not only on the world of sports and sports broadcasting, but I think news-making and newscasting in general. The city's population grew for the 7th consecutive year in 2013. Those are the last figures that we have in that regard. The city's wage tax rates for residents and non-residents are both at 30-year lows right now. And lastly, the one I know that many of you have been waiting for, 2013 marked the first time that the city is rated in the A category by all three rating agencies. S&P has us at A+ in 2013. It's the highest rating that S&P has ever given to the city of Philadelphia in 40+ years. Moody's has us at A2, and Fitch has us at A-. These are all, of course, signs of great fiscal health for the city of Philadelphia and the confidence of the bond market. And people will be glad to take any questions about any of these issues or any others that I might be able to answer from members of the press. So a little bit of an update of 2014 and what we're looking forward to in 2015. Any questions? Crowd is stunned. It could very well be. Thank you very much. We have work to do as we lead into, of course, 2015. We're pleased with many of the results from last year, but the work actually is never done. Continued focus on driving down crime in the city of Philadelphia, both in the police service and the fire service. Continued focus on economic development in the city of Philadelphia. But I think the number one issues challenging our city right now are supreme focus on education, and making sure that we make the necessary changes at the state, as well as continued focus on issues of poverty that affect our city. And even though our poverty rate has gone down, we still have much work to do, and our shared prosperity plan will certainly help in that regard. Mike Dunn. Well, I've certainly looked at what the councilman has submitted as compared to the sick leave task force report, and without getting into too many specifics, I don't think there are significant differences other than the threshold issue with regard to, at what point is a business required to be in compliance with the law. My recollection is the task force recommended companies with 15 or more employees, and I believe the councilman's bill came in at 10 or more. Not a huge difference there. Both of us have made a commitment that we'll continue to talk with each other about this and try to before we get to a point of a hearing, certainly our goal is to try to have some agreement in that regard. As I said at the press conference, I guess that was on December 1st, I think, for the sick leave task force report, we have a lot of work to do in this regard, but I think the time has come that we have a paid sick leave policy here in the city of Philadelphia, and the details do matter, and so we'll go through that process. But I'm certainly hopeful in the course of this year that I'll be able to sign a bill enthusiastically with regard to this particular issue. Walt?
Really excellent police officer, former Commissioner Steve Johnson, who passed away. I didn't know if he were anybody wanted to make public with that. I think the funeral was later.
Yes. I had the opportunity in my previous service as a councilman for the 4th District. I met Deputy Commissioner Johnson when he was the captain of the 19th Police District, and I've had a relationship with him over a pretty significant period of time. A great captain in his service then, and certainly rose up through the ranks to become a deputy commissioner. We mourn certainly his loss and thank him for great service to the city of Philadelphia. Mike?
Regarding the death of Shane Montgomery, and given that that was the counter, and that the ruling that the death was accidental, do you have any concerns about the current safety precautions that are there at the waterway, and do you anticipate instructing the new administration to look at possible enhancements to safety?
Well, I mean, obviously, we want to try to make sure that people are as safe as possible. You know, I've been in that area, you know, a million times. Slight exaggeration, but maybe not too much. I think what we don't completely know with certainty is, you know, where he actually went into the water, how he went into the water. There are a fair number of protections out there. And, you know, again, I'm not going to speculate on what actually happened or how it happened. We know the end result. But if there are things that we can do along the canal area, if that's where he went in to the water, certainly we want to take any additional precautionary steps that we can. So we'll take a look at that. But I mean, obviously, for the moment, the issue is that he was recovered, and you know, we want to respect the privacy of his family, and we'll go through a process to try to figure out all of those details. Paul?
Mayor, again, and this is probably more topical, violence against police officers and police shooting back in shootings. Do we have any numbers at all on whether that's been up or down in the last couple of years? Do we have the cost studies being done?
Police Commissioner Ramsey can get into it more, but I think my recollection is at the end of 2014, I believe there were 4 civilians who were killed in their interactions with police officers. I believe the number in 2013 was 12. And again, my recollection is that 3 of the 4 civilians in 2014 had weapons that we recovered, and one other, I believe, was in a physical fight confrontation with that particular police officer. But I think the larger issue is that the excellent work of members of the Philadelphia Police Department to have a more positive relationship with citizens is critically important. That's the leadership, again, of Commissioner Ramsey. That's the leadership of John McNesby on the union side. It's the relationship with community crime fighters who interact with police officers on a regular basis. I mean, the real issue is people want good policing in their neighborhoods, regardless of the race or gender of the officer. Citizens need the police need the citizens. And so how we enhance police and community and police relationships, I think is really key. If you shoot at a Philadelphia police officer, I would expect, because that's how they're trained, it is my expectation, If you shoot at a Philadelphia police officer, more than likely they're going to shoot back. That's their job. Their first duty is to protect themselves and the citizens of the city. And so, my recommendation is don't shoot at the police. Don't fight with the police. And, again, it's easy to say standing here at a podium, things happen out in the community. We review every shooting that takes place, whether it's fatal or not. At the same time, we need to make sure that officers do not engage in the course of their policing in a way that is disrespectful to the citizens of the city of Philadelphia. It's not oppressive, it's not abusive, that's not prejudice in its execution. So there is a balance. There has to be a balance and a better understanding, higher level of communication between community members who have, in many instances, serious, legitimate concerns and gripes and issues and complaints and feelings about how they might be treated by the police. And at the same time, the officers are out there doing their job. They want to be able to go home to their families. They're risking their lives. And they want to have some level of decency and respect and appreciation for the hard work that they're doing out in the streets every day. And I think if we can have, some level of, common interest, mutual respect on both sides, understanding it's a really tough job. People don't want to be mistreated. And as the commissioner always says, I know at graduations and other ceremonies to the officers, you want to treat people the way you or your family would want to be treated. And at the same time, I want to strongly encourage folks to stop shooting at our police officers, stop fighting with our police officers. And, we can de-escalate a lot of these situations on both sides if, we have a different level of engagement. But every one of those shootings is reviewed. Police Commissioner Ramsey asked an outside entity to come in and take a look at what's going on. And you've seen, as you look at the numbers, you've seen a significant drop in those kinds of engagements. The commissioner was asked directly by President Barack Obama to co-chair the 21st Century Community Policing Task Force on behalf of the nation. So, obviously there's a recognition that there are some positive things going on here in the city of Philadelphia, but we're not perfect, and things happen out in the street. They happen in an instant. Someone has to make a very quick judgment about their safety or the safety of a citizen. And it is very, very tough work. It is very dangerous. We've lost 7 police officers killed in the line of duty here in this city in the last 7 years. Mike?
The new issue of Philadelphia Magazine cover story by yourself quotes you reflecting on Ferguson and noting that there is essentially no African-American leadership in that now. The author of the article interprets your comments as you're being critical of the African-American community there for not electing people of color into positions. Is that a correct interpretation? Is this partly their fault?
No, it's a quite incorrect interpretation. I've made a number of comments with regard to Ferguson. Unfortunately, the author chose to only write that particular segment. I think if you look out into the media world, you'll see any number of comments that I've made with regard to the grand jury decision, the particular officer's actions, and what happened in that grand jury process, what the prosecutor did or did not do. The comments that were quoted was merely a conversation about the politics of what goes on in a particular community, having nothing to do with what actually happened between that police officer and Michael Brown. So it was really a small part of a much larger conversation with regard to Ferguson. I encourage, I'd never heard of Ferguson, unfortunately, until this tragedy. I encourage folks to vote. And if you just look at, that particular issue with regard to the population in Ferguson, And there was, I think there have been reports about a pretty significant, unfortunately significant low turnout in some of the elections there. One of the ways that you can be empowered is to go to the voting booth and elect different leaders if you don't like the folks who are in charge in your particular town at that time. And so it was merely a conversation about the issue of voting, encouraging folks to vote, whether you're in Ferguson or Philadelphia or anywhere else. That is a part of the process, and it is a path, at least, toward creating change. That's what that was about. So the bad interpretation.
But just so I'm clear, were you trying to make the point that that incident might not have happened had there been more or any African-American leaders?
No. I don't know that any of us could truly predict what might have happened, what could have happened, what would have happened differently in that situation. Certainly voting didn't have anything to do with it. That's about a longer-term look and view of community engagement, community empowerment, and at least taking the one thing that every one of us has as an American, which is the right to vote. And if you want to create change in your community, going to the voting booth is one of the ways you do that. Last question. Thanks so much. Thank you.